What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel, and we're just going to go ahead and say it. This is your #1 source of mountain bike information on the internet. I know it's early, but we just hit 1,000 subscribers. So yes, I was joking a little bit about the #1, but we are going to get there, and hopefully we can help answer a ton of questions for you guys in the future. But like I said, 1,000 subscribers, huge thanks to you guys for supporting the channel. This is just the beginning, and hopefully we can crank out a ton more video, give you guys a lot more info, and grow even more together. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider subscribing. It definitely helps out the channel a ton. Like we mentioned, we want to be able to crank out videos on a daily basis and get you guys as much info as we can. Just answer all your guys' questions overall. So we're going to go over product reviews, buyer's guides, and all that stuff. Hopefully answer your questions in later videos. And once again, we appreciate all of the feedback. So definitely let us know in the comment section if there's anything you want to see a video on, or there's anything you want to see at all. We did improve the audio. Hopefully you guys can notice a difference there. Shout out to Hannah. She helped me figure out what we needed to basically get like a better mic on here. So that's what I got. I got a little mic down here. And yeah, we're gonna try to keep the ball rolling on these more screen record videos. I just feel like it's cool because I can actually show you guys what I'm looking at as I'm talking to you guys. And we're able to keep putting out these videos on a consistent basis. So we're going to talk about the Pivot Firebird 29 today, because as you guys probably saw by the title of this video, I really think that the Pivot Firebird 29 is probably the best long travel bike on the market right now. The way I currently define long travel is anything that has I would say 160 millimeters. You can go to 150, but I really like that 160 millimeters travel or more. There's a few bikes in that category. We did a video about that earlier on, so be sure to check that one out. Personally, like I mentioned, the Firebird 29 just came out, and I think the new updated one is the best one on the market. I think it's almost perfect, but the keyword there is going to be almost. So today we're going to go over the bike, what I love about it, why I think it's the best on the market, and also why I put that disclaimer of almost, because there are a couple of small things that aren't doing it for me, but at the same time too, I don't think they're necessarily deal breakers. If I was in the market for a 160 mil bike, this would be what I buy right off the get-go. I'm just kind of putting that here ahead of time. But yeah, we'll get into all that in a later video, or not a later video, later in this video. With all that being said, you guys, really quick, if you guys can hit that like button, it does help get these videos out to more people out there. Really want to try to grow this channel, and like I mentioned, the more you guys are engaging and the more you guys like the videos, the more we'll keep cranking them out. I want to try to get to a point where we're releasing a video a day, hopefully. And yeah, anytime any new bike comes out or any of that stuff, I'm able to hop on here, give you guys feedback on that stuff, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy that style. Also, in the description of this video, we'll put coupon links down there as well, and a link to our competitive cyclist affiliate link. So any purchases through that link, whether you buy anything, it does help support the channel. So huge thank you to you guys. With that being said, let's start talking about the Pivot Cycles Firebird. Wonder if I can move myself around, because I got a message here from Pivot. We are proud to announce our worst kept secret. Is that the message? What happens if I click on this guy? We are proud. We're here to assist. No, we don't need you. Who is this? Ben, we don't need you. We got ourselves. I don't know. Ben seems like a nice guy, but so we're gonna pull up. The first thing is the Firebird 29, obviously. So let's press Explore Firebird. So I do believe that this is 165 mils of travel in the rear, and I think they're doing a 170 mil fork, or is it a 165 too? So we have 165 millimeters of travel in the rear. Look at that frame. That frame looks amazing. That orange color, I think a little on the hideous side. This is the color I would go with. Let's, can you click it? No, they're not letting me click it. Let's see if they have any pictures of it. It's not uploading. They have this other, it's like a tan color that looks insane. Or am I completely crazy? Where is it? Where's their website? Not, what's going on here? Pivot Firebird. I want the other color. Why won't it let me pick the other color? So they have another color here. We're trying to pull it up for you guys. Bear with us. There it is. I don't know why it's not letting me pull it up. Do they not want to show it? Maybe they don't want to sell that one. Or maybe it's just loading. Okay, so I guess it's just loading. They do have another color that I personally think looks a lot better than this orange. I don't know. I know Fox with the orange. I like the Fox orange lowers. full orange frame. I know that's coming from someone who does like really loud colors. I don't necessarily think I'm the biggest fan of that, but we're talking about the bike today, so did it update? Oh no, I guess they just don't want to. Maybe we should message Ben that this isn't working. Ben, can you change? I can message him right now. Oh, there it is. Okay, we don't need to bug Ben. Ben's probably busy at work. So with that being said, that's the color I think looks amazing. And there's going to be a couple of reasons on why I really do love this bike. So let's see if I can pull up the geo chart real quick. So besides having 165 mils of travel, this bike is a proper, I would say proper XL, but for those of you who aren't XL, it's a proper whatever size you're running. So if you're gonna look at the reach on this bike, and in the XL, you're looking at a 510 centimeter reach, or 51 centimeter reach, 510 millimeters. Hopefully I got that number right. But yeah, this is gonna be a proper XL. And for those of you who don't know what I'm saying by proper XLs, I feel like a lot of companies will say their bike is an XL or a large, and then on paper it looks really good, and then you go to ride the bike and you're like, oh man, this kind of feels a little bit shorter than I was kind of hoping for. And I used to own the older version of this, the original Firebird. Absolutely love that bike, and that bike was also a very proper XL, and I thought the reach was really good, and I know that they did make this a little longer as well. So yeah, you are looking at a really aggressive geo, but not too aggressive. So that head angle, you're looking at 64 degrees. In all honesty, I feel like companies, especially on these long travel 29 rigs, they're really trying to see how slack they can go. It just, I don't know, I know going slack definitely helps out with stability, high-speed stability on downhills and whatnot. It takes away a lot from the responsiveness of a bike. And a lot of these places, like, I mean, if you look at kind of Pivot Cycle's backyard, they're based out of South Mountain. And in South Mountain, probably some of the most aggressive trails that just feel like they are trying to absolutely rip you apart. But at the same time, it's not like having a bike that's super slacked out is gonna be the best out there, because there are a lot of sections on those trails where you do kind of gotta pick your line, tiptoe your line. Obviously, the slacker head angle helps bail you out of certain situations. And I do feel like for this long travel 29, that 64 degrees is starting to become that sweet spot where I feel like companies are gonna start trying to go way slacker than that, or a degree or two slacker than that. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like 64 is pushing it. And I've always found pivot bikes to be a little bit more on the conservative side when it comes both to head angles and bottom bracket heights. And I do attribute a lot of this to, like I said, their backyard. Their backyard, aggressive trails, but they're trails that are very slow speed chunk style trails. And so having the lowest bottom bracket and also having the slackest bike doesn't necessarily benefit you as much as maybe a little bit more of a conservative head angle and a little bit more of a conservative bottom bracket height. So with that being said, I feel like, yes, they made this thing a little bit more aggressive, but I don't feel like they went basically full gung-ho into the downhill bike spectrum. But yeah, so 64 degree head angle, 77 degree seat angle on the XL, 76 and a half, and then 76 as you go down sizes. And I do like that they are switching up, I don't know, I feel like in the past, people have said that pivot bikes have slack seat angles. I only really ever experienced that on the Mach 6. That was the only bike that I felt like the seat angle was a little bit slacker than I was hoping for. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with slack seat angles and why I don't necessarily like them, anytime you have a slack seat angle, so hopefully I can see a picture of the bike. I'm gonna pull it up here. So right here, right? So say you go slacker, it kind of puts you a little bit further behind the bottom bracket, and it gets exaggerated as bike size frames go up. So on an XL, obviously you're gonna have a higher saddle height, especially if you're a taller rider. It's gonna put you even further behind. So say this had a little bit slacker seat angle, and you go to a higher saddle height, you're gonna be that much more so behind the bottom bracket. And what that's gonna feel like when you're pedaling, it's gonna feel like you're almost like pedaling at an angle, and it doesn't feel like all of that power is translated essentially into forward momentum. You're gonna feel like you're not putting down all the power. So that's why personally I've always been a fan, I don't know, I know if there was like an expert bike fitter, he'd probably shriek right now, but I, for the most part, slam most of my saddles forward because I really do like to be on top of that bottom bracket. And maybe later on, I might kind of start experiencing some knee pains down the line and whatnot. I'll regret doing that. But yeah, that's why I am a fan of steep seat angles. It does seem like they've gone a little bit steeper on this. On the previous Firebird, I didn't really have an issue with that. Like I said, just the Mach 6, I felt like the seat angle was a little on the slacker side. But kind of moving to this Firebird, I do like where they're going with this thing. What else do I want to talk about? Just kind of the pros. So I guess pros of this bike. Number one, it's a pivot. Now, pivot, very similar to Ibis. I mean, both utilizing DW Link. They are different feeling DW links. I feel like both bikes do have slight differences, but at the end of the day, the pivot, very similar to the Ibis, is going to be very good at climbing and is going to be a little bit more poppy and playful than other suspension designs on the market. Excluding, I would say, VPP, that's going to be a whole different thing. Personally, not the biggest fan of VPP suspension. But with that being said, like I said, if you're going to compare this to an equivalent bike, which I used to say was the best enduro or long travel 29 on the market, the Specialized Enduro, I feel like that's where this bike is going to get compared to a lot. So in comparison to that Enduro is definitely going to have a much more active suspension design. So it's going to feel like that bike may feel like it's tracking to the ground. It'll have the edge there, but that bike's not going to feel as lively as this Firebird 2.9. Now, you might be asking, why do you want a bike to be lively? Well, with that being said, you have an aggressive geo, you have that reach is there, you have the head angle is there, you have the travel. This thing is a trail slayer. Having the ability to also have a little bit more of a pop and a playful nature that pivot bikes tend to naturally provide. Number one, you're gonna have a lot more fun on the trails. Number two, you're not gonna feel like this thing is too overbearing, where if you were to take this thing and that Enduro built up equally onto the trails, I feel like you're gonna have a better time in terms of just general fun taking this on a little bit more tame style trails. So say you're not wanting to get too aggressive, I do feel like this won't feel as overkill as the Enduro. Not kind of putting the Enduro down. I still think that Enduro is close to the top long travel 29er in that 160 category. The only reason I'm not putting that in front of this is because this was just released. So the way Pivot works, you know what, okay. So the way Pivot works out is Pivot, they release a bike, and then for the next 4 to 5 years, they may do a color scheme change, but for the most part, I would say I feel like their average lifespan on their models before they update them is about 4 to 5 years. So when they release a bike, it's gonna have all the bells and whistles. It's gonna be in what their eyes is future-proofed. And that's why they just released this. They updated it. It looks really awesome. They're not gonna touch this for 4 to 5 years. In theory, that's my theory. I could be completely wrong. The Enduro has been out for a while. It's been at the top of its category for a while. It's at the top of the line for a while. Inventory, it's really tough to find one right now, which I know due to the situation, that might be it. It might be a supply chain issue, but part of me also feels like that Enduro, maybe it's time to make a few updates to it. I'm not saying crazy, change the model, but I do feel like, I don't know, it's been out longer than this, and I feel like if you're looking for a bike that's going to be future-proof, you really don't want to buy a bike in the next year for them to release the new model or new updates, I feel like this is going to be a safe bet. And like I said, sometimes it definitely does hurt them. I remember when the Switchblade, they released that bike, everyone was super stoked on it, and I remembered, I think I checked back in after a few years, and the Switchblade was still the Switchblade, no updates, and I was kind of like, I feel like they would have tried everyone else was updating their stuff, getting ready, but like I said, Pivot tends to do things on the slower side, but when they do update a model, they go full gung-ho, and I feel like they always shoot themselves back to the front of the line. So I feel like that's the way, they don't go to the end of the line, I feel like they shoot themselves to the front of the line, and then they just kind of wait, which is also respectful. I feel like if you're someone who's gonna buy a bike, I feel like a company respecting you purchasing that bike by not updating their models every year, every 2 years, it makes you feel less bad. And yeah, with that being said, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm putting this to the front of the list. So I like that about the bike. I like the geo about the bike. I like how playful and poppy this bike is. It's also a very good climber. Particularly two facts there. Number one, DW link suspension design. These bikes always tend to be a little bit better on the climbing side. So I do feel like on longer fire road pedals, this thing is going to have an edge over its competitor, that Enduro 160. And yeah, I would say this is probably going to be just going to feel a little bit more efficient, a little bit more pedal friendly. The Enduro is still a good climber, but at the same time, I feel like it's going to shine a little bit more so when traction is needed, both uphill and downhill. So more technical style climbs, I feel like traction wise, that Enduro might kind of give this thing a run for its money. But another thing that I like about this bike is, like I said, that more moderate, I feel like these bikes always tend to do well pedaling in chunky terrain. So pedal strikes, I feel like this thing not going to experience too much of that stuff, even though this is such an aggressive bike. And once again, I feel like a lot of that is going to be attributed to their backyard being South Mountain. So what did I talk about? I talked about how I love the geo, I like the suspension design, I like how this is new, it's relevant, it's updated. I like how the Firebird 2.9 also, it really does feel like it can be a one bike quiver, where I feel like a lot of other bikes in that 160mm 29er, feel like you are sacrificing a lot. I do feel like you are able to pedal the Pivot Firebird 29, or at least I was on my previous Firebird 29. You're able to pedal it on a wide variety of trails, and it does get the job done. You don't feel like it's overkill too much. Like I said, a lot of that is due to that suspension design. But with that being said, let's get into why I feel like this bike was almost perfect. Because I do feel like they almost knocked this one out of the park. So number one, I mean, it would have been the color if this color didn't load. That orange, it's a bold color. And that's coming from someone who likes bold colors. But I do think that they saved it with this. So the color obviously isn't the thing that I'm going to talk about right now. The things I'm going to talk about right now, number one, is going to be this price point. So $72.99 gets you in the door. I think it gets you in the door. Oh no, they do have a Race XT. Okay, the price is coming down. Still though, so you're looking at, to get in the door on this Firebird 2.9, you're looking at about $6,100. And I believe that they are not going to be doing frame onlys for the time being until, I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like until they supply. So first people get on the complete, and then down the line, I think they'll start looking at frame. I could be completely wrong about that. With that being said, I still feel like $6,100 with no other option to get in the door on the Firebird 2.9. It's a little tough. Maybe they'll release a metal version. I personally don't think they will. But I do feel like it'd be cool to give more access to people to get on the Firebird 2.9. Number one, because I really do feel like this can be the ultimate bike quiver. Number two, because a lot of people who are going to be thrashing that long travel 29er, it's going to be tough to be thrashing that pretty penny. And it's interesting when you start getting into that demo, like who is looking for a 160mm 29er? Normally, it's people who really do like bike parks, they like burly trails, they like to thrash their equipment, and they're a little bit more opposite. I hate to say this, but if there are any of this, so I was going to say, normally they're not in the, I was going to air quotes, the dentist category. Normally, like, the people looking for this much travel, this much chassis, this much, and especially, I mean, if you guys look at this head tube, that's another thing I was going to talk about. I believe it's a 1.5 head tube. Like, that's one thing I remember from my Firebird. Let me see if I can go through the pictures. Just look at this thing, guys. Yeah, that head tube is just, let's see if they'll pull it up. I remember my head tube just being so beefy. Look at that. That's going to translate to a very stiff ride. And that's nice. Like, frames that are this stiff, they feel so good on burlier style tracks. But yeah, once again, like, I feel like that rider in this category that's really going to appreciate this bike, are they looking to spend $6,100 on a build? Let's even look at that $6,100 build, because I originally didn't see those two race builds. Let's see what the bang for buck is there. I wonder how I can even get to them. I want Race XT. It looks like if I pull this over, do they not even have it? Pro X01, X01, Team XTR. No, we want, Okay, there we go. So you got to kind of go all the way at the end, which is, I mean, they're kind of hiding it at the end. I don't think you hide this. I think you lead with this. If I was the pricing specialist, I am by no means a pricing specialist. If I was the person in charge of pricing this bike, I probably would have tried to get this to 5,900 or into that 5, and then just lead with this. Even if this is going to be like the only affordable, like between the XT and the X01, I just feel like, man, there's so many new riders, and there's so many, not even just like beginner riders, there's so many people who've gotten into riding over the last 2 years that are looking to upgrade their bike, that are looking to make that jump. And I just feel like this bike has a ton of potential to really cater to a ton of riders out there, especially this new segment, and especially that segment that does like to thrash their bike, and they might not want to be thrashing around a 13,100. Unfortunately, I'm starting to see this number a lot more nowadays, the 12,000, the 13,000. It is, I personally feel like, starting to get a little bit out of hand. With this, I think this is the Fox Factory Live valve, so there's going to be the electronic suspension on there. Man, it's a crazy time. Or even kind of going without the live valve. I think this is without the live valve, 11,000. I don't get what's happening to bike prices, but yeah, with that being said, I don't think Pivot should be hiding these. I think Pivot should have these in the forefront. And yeah, I feel like this bike can cater to a lot of riders out there. But so first thing I'm going to talk about, first thing I guess I don't like is pricing. I do feel like bikes are starting to get a little bit kind of crazy pricing wise. With that being said, price is also a thing that's relative. I mean, everyone has different budgets, and also everyone has different priorities as well. Me personally, bikes are my life. This man, even, is that X01 AXS for 10,000? Oh, you get the Industry 9 wheels, but do you get AXS? Please tell me you get AXS. Do you get AXS? I don't think you get AXS, guys. That is... But maybe, was that live valve? Maybe that's what I was reading. That's the cool thing with these videos, is you guys get to be as shocked as me. Okay, you do get live valve. Okay. I was worried there for a little bit, because I was like, oh man, but... Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is too far off of other brands. I think a lot of prices are going to start going up, in particular because I feel like the bike industry is experiencing so many shortages. So yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of affordable cost option on this. Obviously, I mean, they're their own company. They do what they want. But I do feel like this bike, when I was on it, I felt like it was an ultimate one-bike quiver, even though it did have so much travel. And I feel like kind of bringing this into a little bit more of a realistic price point to some riders out there, I don't know, I feel like it can benefit them well, but who do I know? I don't own a bike company. I'm not in the bike. I don't work for a bike company. So with that being said, pricing is one thing that I would kind of, I'm going to just deduct a few points there. The other thing I'm going to deduct a few points, I think is going to be, let me make sure, confirm this, the 157, the Super Boost. So it's basically the wheel spacing. Let's see, details. I'm pretty sure this is Super Boost. So Pivot, yeah, 12 by 157. So they did this a few years ago. So they've been doing this for a little bit. And I don't think Super Boost has taken off. I could be completely wrong. I could be eating my words later on. I don't think you guys understand how frustrating it is to be traveling in a random city, town, or country and need a replacement wheel because your hub blows up. And yeah, you need Super Boost. And I know that there's like spacers and adapters and all this stuff, but I just feel like the bike industry can kind of try to figure out this standard here. I personally don't think that Super Boost, I don't know, maybe it will be the future, but I just feel like if you're traveling a ton, you're going to be on a trip, you're going to be out of the country, and something happens to your wheel, you want to borrow a friend's wheel, you want to borrow the local shop's spare wheel. I think finding a shop to supply that 12 by 157 spare rear wheel is going to be a little bit tougher. So I am going to deduct just a couple minute points right there. I'm still, like I said, I still do think this is the best bike in this category, that 165, but that's one of the things I don't necessarily like. Is it a deal breaker for me? No, not a deal breaker for me, but I would keep that in mind. And the other thing that's going to be a deal breaker for me, actually, I think that was it. I think that actually was all it. Well, you know, I forgot to put one of the more pros. One thing that I think is going to be a huge pro for me is look at that right there, guys. I feel like if you guys are going to buy this bike, one of the main things right here, look at that. That is room for a water bottle. So they did change the shock position on here. So now you basically get a water bottle inside of the frame. That is crucial. That was basically one of the things that I really did not like about this bike, was that unfortunately the previous model, water bottle on the down tube or wherever you had it. I know Rob Drew has the water bottle mount up here, that little, I don't know what the brand is, but definitely hit him up. Cool YouTuber now, and also Instagram, really fast dude overall. But yeah, he's got the water bottle up here. I personally think though that this is pretty game changing for this frame, for this category. And like I mentioned, you guys, I really do feel like this is the best long travel 29er on the market currently. And when I say long travel, 160 mils plus, I think this definitely is going to surpass the Enduro, primarily because it's so fresh and they really did nail everything. I feel like Pivot nailed this bike. I would like to see a little bit more of a cost affordable option down the line. Boost, I don't think they'll ever go back to Boost. I know they march to the beat in their, they march to the beat in their own head or heart. One of those things. Basically, they do things they want to do, and for reasons they want to do it. I think they stay true to themselves. I think that's why also they've been so successful over the years. So who am I to judge this? But I would like, it'd be cool if that was Boost, but that's just my thoughts. Overall, really stoked on this build. Hopefully I can get some time on it later on. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel and let us know in the comment section what should we talk about next. Until next time, you guys, ride awesome.